Hi doing everyone, welcome with a quick and easy tech. Today we're going to talk about SQL Server Integration Services SSIS. So I'm going to have a part 22. It's going to be full session of data conversion in data SSIS. I'm going to talk about data structures of and then data types and the character length in the SQL Server table with the multiple examples and various scenarios. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about only the most common data type. We have a lot of data types. We have a lot of them. So I'm just going to talk about only the most common the data types. I'm not going to talk about the storage. I'm just going to type what is the proper data type for the table is going to match with flat file in SQL Server SSIS. So I'm going to talk about the integer, and then I'm going to talk about the numeric and date and time, and then I'm going to talk about the string also. So let's go to SQL. Let's go to Management Studio. So here I have I'm going to create a table. I'm going to call it data type test, and then I'm going to have 12 columns, and I'm going to have ID, first name, last name, their birth, address, zip code, state, phone number. Going to be height. The height is going to be the feet and inches, and I have a weight pound, net worth, and YouTube most viewed. So I have flat file here. As you see, I have customer USA. So I have flat file here. I have 12 columns, right? So I have the ID, and I have this is going to be the row. So I am going to try to show you what is the perfect data type for my table. I'm going to do multiple scenario. So I'm gonna do some comparison now. This is my Management Studio. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do multiple scenarios. So I chose for the ID, I chose integer. Why not tiny int? Why is not big int, big integer? And for the first name, why I chose varchar, why is not unvarchar, and so on. And also for the date, why I don't choose, why I didn't pick the date time. I chose for the date, for the date of birth, I chose only the date. And also for the height and weight, net worth, decimal, why I can just choose again, just set the money. And for YouTube most viewed, I picked the integer. Why is not big integer? So I'm going to explain every single detail here. And also for the length. First of all, let's just talk about what is the differences between the varchar and unvarchar. Varchar and unvarchar, this is very simple. This is non-Unicode and this is Unicode. What's different between Unicode, non-Unicode and Unicode? It's just nothing. Because it's because of the national. So this is stand for national variable character, and national variable and character. Varchar, this is for standard American language here for English, variable character. But the N for why in like a foreign countries or foreign language they use national varchar language? Because for example, if you're gonna have if you have some kind of, let's say I'm gonna do hello in Japanese. Like for example, you want to say like, okay, so names in Japanese, let's say, okay, names, first names, let's say first name in Japanese here, for example. You want to say like those names in Japanese, you got first, okay, let's say first name here. So let's just pick up like a right one here, something similar. Okay, let's say those names here. How you gonna get those those string? This is mean love, wealth. For example, if you have this love meaning Japanese inside, let's say that's a first name. You have that first name here. That's why we use a varchar. And also for a different foreign language, like say for example, let's say hello in let's say Chinese, simplified Chinese. Also that's what this is this is a national, so this is we have to use Unicode for this kind of foreign language. So this is foreign language. And also for Arabic also. So this is mean hello in Arabic. If you have this in a flat file, you need to use national variable character, which is varchar. So I'm just using varchar. This is for standard American, because in my flat file I have only a standard American language here. So that's pretty much the big difference between the varchar and just a varchar. This is variable character, this is national variable a character. Okay, let's just move on. So for the next okay, so let's talk about the ID. So I'm gonna have an ID integer. Why I'm gonna have an ID integer? Because you know ID integer mean it's a whole number. What does mean a whole number? Like you have 1, 2, 10, any numbers, but no decimals. You cannot have a decimals. For example, 6.5 or 66 point something. This is decimal. So integer, it's mean only a whole number. This is a whole number. 5 is a whole number, and 1 it's a whole number. And also you can have a negative also, like you can have -1 or -5, but no decimals. You cannot have a decimals in integer. You cannot have a decimal in integer. So you have to use a decimal, or you can use a float. So I'm using integer because it's going to be ID only, so I'm going to need only whole number. And also the differences between unsigned and signed, like for example integer, tiny integer, big integer, small integer. There is something called unsigned integer and signed integer. Signed integer meaning, just copy it. So a signed integer meaning you have, let's say you have 1 and 5 and like 1,000, and also you can have a -1, -5 and -1,000. You can have a negative. That's signed integer, and that's it's gonna be okay. An unsigned integer, it's only in, sorry, let's go back here. So unsigned integer here, you have only the positive here. You have only the positive, which is gonna be +1, which is gonna be the same with 1. So you can just only have 1, and let's say you have 5 or 1,000 or whatever. So that's a positive. A positive, you have only positive. So this is a positive and negative. So that's the difference between the signed and unsigned integer. And also let's just go to the PowerPoint. So, and then signed integer, and then for the decimal, as we said, we have a decimal, a small money and money. A decimal, as we know, that's different than integers. You have anything with points. So you have, let's say you have like $12. That's $12 point and then 50 cents. That's integer. This is integer. You got the point here. $12.50. That's in. I mean, sorry. This is a decimal. You got the decimal, 50 cents here you have. You cannot have that in integer. We said integer, it's a whole number only, and doesn't matter if you have signed integer, it's gonna be only it's gonna be positive and negative, positive here and also negative. You get the plus here, and then for the unsigned integer only the positive here, only the plus. And this is for a decimal. Let's say for a decimal, you can, that's exactly a decimal. The small money and the money, this is just this is same like decimal, but the difference is it's only with the calculation. So if you ask any developer, a database developer, if they work in a database production level, they will not gonna use small money or even money, because you're gonna have a problem with the calculation, especially if you have a lot of calculations here. Like if you go to Google, there's a lot of articles that talk about it. No, do not use, because you're gonna have a problem with the round. Sometimes you have a problem with the round, like missing some numbers with the round up, and ceiling and floor also. So most of the developer, they use a decimal. Decimal will give you the accurate. You can search in Google and exactly know why. Do not use money. I'm not talking about money now. I'm going to just use the integer. A decimal. Decimal will give you the accurate. If you have a calculation, if you want to do like a calculation, like a big calculation in a database, in the production level, you have a lot of see that you got a lot of calculations. Do not use money. You're gonna use a decimal. And then for the data type, we're gonna talk about what is the difference between the data and datetime. Date, it's just symbol. Date, it just meaning date. Like for example, July 25th, 2020. And daytime, you're gonna have the same thing, July 25th, let's say 2020, and then you're gonna have like a number here. Like for example, I'm gonna show you. Let's go back to SQL Server, and then we're gonna just like we're gonna get a get date here. Let's say select get date. Sorry, get date here. Okay, so that's this is a get date. Get date included the daytime, is going to include the date plus the daytime. That's exactly what this mean, a daytime. So this is a date plus the time, daytime. We're gonna have, I'm gonna do a lot of scenarios about the table. I'm gonna try to modify the date here, and then I'm gonna try to add a daytime. I'm gonna try to add the time, and with the data type, my data type will be date, and then I want to see what's gonna happen. Can I insert a daytime? Can I insert a daytime? Can I insert a daytime inside the date table? I'm gonna do a lot of scenarios, so let's gonna see what's gonna happen. So, and then I'm gonna talk about, so I just talked about the Unicode, non-Unicode and Unicode. We said non-Unicode and Unicode. So this is just American people, American language. They use standard American, they use non-Unicode. This is Unicode for the foreign. You have different languages and different symbols also. And for the character, this is a character. Let me just go back here. Let's just go for the table. And for the state, I'm gonna use like state abbreviation. Like for example, let's say Florida. That's the name of the state. I'm gonna use only the first two letter. this is gonna be, I'm just gonna, this is a character, right? So this is a character. So you got here, you got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, you got 7 character here, 7 character. So I'm gonna use only 2 character, the state abbreviation. That's why I got the character 2 and 2. And also I'm gonna talk about the address, why I had the zip code. Why in my zip code I have a varchar, I mean a varchar. Why I don't just have integer? Because zip code is just a number. Zip code, it's like pretty much integer. Like for example, that's zip code, right? Zip code has a 5 numbers, right? There is 5 here. This is 5 numbers. It's a zip code. I can just have integer. Why I have the zip code? It's in varchar because some states and like for example, different countries, and they got the zip code. They have a letter with the zip code. A letter with the zip code. Let's go back and search. Like if you go to this is a Canada zip code. So Canada, they got mixed. This is string. That's letter T, 6X, Z0, Z4. That's mixed string and numeric and string. That's mixed. So if you are in US, they don't use a letter here, and so I'm just gonna stuck with the varchar. And also sometimes with the zip code you have like extension. You don't only have 5 zip code. Sometimes you have extension. I'm gonna talk about later. Sometimes you have like for example a dash, and sometimes you have another extension. So this is gonna help us also. If you have integer, you cannot have the dash here. You cannot have the hyphen here. So and then for the length, this is gonna be 10. So this is gonna be 5, let's say, and then this is gonna be another 5. This is gonna be 10. What about the hyphen? We get the hyphen, so this is gonna be total of 11. This is gonna be total of 11, not 10. You know, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna do a lot of scenarios, and also this is pretty much. So I'm just gonna start working on the project and show you different scenarios and different examples. Okay, let's just create a table. So this is gonna be my table. That's my table. So I have I have 12 columns: ID, first name, last name. So let me just create the table. So I have my SSIS test database. That's my database. So I'm just gonna create this table. I called it data types test. Command completed successfully. Let's just select it. Before I select it, I need to refresh it. So click on edit, IntelliSense, refresh local cache. Let's just select it. Select all from DBO. That's my data type customers here. So we got this going on here. So let's just copy. I'm gonna, okay, so here we're gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna open a new query here. Alright, let's just zoom in. So this is gonna be my table: ID, first name, last name, date of birth, address, zip code, state, phone number, and it's gonna be the height, weight, net worth, and YouTube most viewed. So let's just start. So now, so far, this is gonna be my normal table here. So so this is gonna be fine. If I'm gonna insert this rows, I should not have no problem. So let's just go back to SSDT, SSIS, and then I'm gonna create a new table. I'm gonna create a new package, and then I'm just gonna call it. I'm gonna call this package. So I'm gonna call this like a data conversion here. Part 22 data. This is data conversion here. So what I'm gonna do here, as you know guys, in order to load a data to a database or export or import, you need to have a data flow task here. So the drag and drop data flow task, and then double click in data flow task. Now what we're gonna do, now we are loading from flat file txt to management stereo SSIS. This is only DB destination. So what are you gonna do here? Let's just I need to set the screen here so I can just show you. Okay, so now let's so we are inside data flow task. We're gonna drag and drop the flat file source. We need to navigate. Click on double click on flat file source, click in new, and then we have to navigate to the proper file. That's our file here. That's my path. Let's navigate to it, browse. So so easy. Just copy the path, navigate to my table. That's my table, customer USA, and then the format is going to be delimited. The code page is going to be 1252. That's if you have remember I talked about you have Arabic, you have Chinese, or you have a Japanese. If you want to, in order to import it, you need to have the data type set to integer, to data type set to mvarchar. Like for example, you want to import the first name, right? So this is supposed to be mvarchar, not varchar. And also you need to change the code page here. You change the code page. Let's say for the Japanese, you need to select the proper Japanese for the code page here. Okay, so we're okay now. So format delimited, we have this delimited, and then click on so the column names in the first row. Yes, if you go back to the file, that's the first column. The first row, it's a column name here. That's the first row. So back to SSDT, and then click on columns, advanced. So this is my table here. You can see. You can just maximize it. You have to just maximize those to see the file table. So everything looks fine now. So click on columns, advanced. You can change the data type from here. I'm not gonna change the data type from here. I'm gonna use the data conversion. It will be very easy. And preview it. Everything's good. Click OK, and then retain null value from the source. What's gonna happen? Like for example, if you go back to the table, like for example, you don't have, let's say like the ID, you don't have. Okay, let's say for the name here, you don't have name. You have empty. You got empty. Instead of have empty, in SQL Server table, you will have a null. You will have a null value instead of have empty space. That's exactly what does that mean. Let's just go back here and then redo it. Okay, and do it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, go back to SSDT, click on columns, everything is matte, everything looks okay here. Click OK, and then we're gonna drag and drop only DB destination. We have this is a SQL Server only DB destination, and then I want to navigate to SSIS test, my database, and my test data types test. So I'm gonna connect it, and then double click on all DB destination. We're gonna create a new connection. We don't have a connection, so click new, and then I have my new connection. I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna show you I'm gonna create a new one. In order to get a new one, you have to get the server name. How are you gonna get the server name? Back to SQL Server, you can select a server name. You can get the server name from here, copy the server name, or you can click on Object Explorer, click on Connect, and then Database Engine, and then you can copy the server name from here. So back to SSDT, paste the server name, and then gonna select the proper database. You remember I have my database here, SSIS test, and then click on test connection. Test connection succeeded. Click OK. Click OK. Click OK. Now we're gonna we need to select the proper table. My table will be data types test. I have multiple tables here, right? but this is gonna be my table data type test here. Click on your proper table, view the existing data. I don't have data so far. Here is empty. So if you select the table, I don't have no data. So click OK and then click on mappings. Now on mapping, what's gonna happen? Why this is like the column map to ID map to ID, but the first name does not map to the first name. It's ignored. Why? Because let's go back and find out why. If you go back to the flat file, in the second column, the second column, I don't have a full first name. I have F and name. F name, not first name. This is actually first name, but the name of the convention here. If you go back to SQL Server, and then you can see it from here. That's first name here. But if you go back to my table, look, that's the first name, not the F name. So we need to just map it. So easy. Just select, that's the first name, the last name, and then for the height also, that's the height. So everything is mapped, everything looks fine. Click OK. Now we're gonna have, look, we have a yellow triangle came up, so let's just hover over it. Okay, let me just maximize these things here to show you. Okay, so hover over it, and where it says truncation may occur due to the inserting the phone number. You know why? Because the phone number. Okay, if you go back to SQL Server here, the SQL Server, if you go to the data type, we have the phone number. Where is the phone number? That's the phone number. So the phone number character is set variable character 10. The length is going to be 10. Remember, we create the table, we set the phone number, the length will be 10. Anything beyond 10 will be truncated, will be deleted. If you go back to the table, if you go back to SSDT and then click on the flat file connection and back to the advanced, if you go to back and then phone number, look, the phone number here is 50, not 10. Does not match the 10 here. So what are you gonna do here? What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drag and drop. Also, I'm gonna drag and drop a data conversion. You have like 3 options to change the data. If you can drag and drop data conversion here. Let's just break the connection. We're gonna map it to the data conversion and then data conversion to the SSDT. You can double click on data conversion and then you can change the data type here from this section. Or you got another option, flat file connection. That's belong to the flat file source here. Double click on it and then go to advanced. From here you can change the data type and also you can change the length. You got another option, right click on the flat file and click on show advanced editor and then go input and output properties, flat file source output, and then you have the output columns here. You can change the data type also from here. You can change, but what I'm gonna do, this is very easy. I always like to do the data conversion here. This is so easy. I don't have to go back and I don't have to look, and you see how many times you have to click and look. No, this is so easy for me. Double data conversion, you can see everything here. So now let's say we need to match the data type. I want to match everything comes from the source to the same exact data type to my SQL Server. I want to set a varchar date, address, varchar zip code, and the state 2 character, decimal for the weight and everything. I want to match the same data type. If you go back to SSDT, okay, SSDT. If you go back, if you click, okay, no, hold on a second. If you right click on a flat file source, click show advanced editor, and then click on the input and output properties tab, and then expand flat file source. Let's go to the external. What does external mean? What does mean output mean? external columns and output columns. External, that's mean the metadata comes from here. This is the external, that's the external. This is the metadata. That's metadata, everything here. Metadata here. You got those metadata here. You get the columns and metadata. And you have a data type. This is external output here. I mean, sorry, external columns. Output columns. What's columns? It's the one comes through the precedent constraint here. If you look here, go back. Hold on a second. So, 1 second. Why is app stop here? I think some. Okay, I have to say. Okay, let me just I don't know, something going on. The system has been crashed. Okay, let's just restore, recover. It just crashed all of a sudden. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I was running the computer to work on the project all day. So probably the computer is so tired. So just wait a second. Let me just stop the video a little bit and wait for the program to come up. Or just wait a little bit here. Alright, let's go back, just restore the project. So so we're talking about data conversion. Okay, so now for the truncation. So we go, let's double click on data conversion now, right? So we need to match. Okay, so sorry, so we were talking about I remember, so we just talk about the external and internal. So the internal, that's the metadata comes from the flat file, and the output, this is what goes to the destination. This is the output, the precedent constraint. So what's gonna happen now? Why you don't want, why? Okay, now we need to convert the data, right? We need to match the data, and also for the length, because we're gonna have a truncation, as we said, like the phone number it's set to 100, and flat file connection it's set in 50, not 100, and the truncation will happen. Why? If you have a truncation, the whole package will fail. Now you got 50 here. What does mean truncation here? Like for example, since we have the phone number, so this is 10, right? This is 10. We have 10 numbers here, so that's the phone number. We got 10 here, and also we have 10 here. So everything will be fine, right? But what about, for example, what about if you have like that's why so the phone number, I set my phone number in a variable, not integer or tiny integer, variable character. Why? Sometimes in the phone number you have hyphen here between. You got hyphen here. So if you got hyphen, what's gonna happen? You got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now you got 12 numbers instead of 10. Since you got 12 and SQL Server, you said the data type, you said the length is 10, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a truncation. If you wanna set what's gonna happen, so you have a truncation, right? If you go to error output and then you don't want to fill the component, you want it to keep going, just keep going. Like for example, in the phone number, you want to set the phone number here to ignore the failure, right? What's gonna happen is gonna run through, and the SQL Server will accept only 10 number will be inserted. So the first 10 will be inserted here. So only those numbers will be inserted, and then the 2 is going to be removed from the 10. You're going to have a problem here because of the hyphen here. And that's why I set the data type to variable character, not the integer, because sometimes you have hyphen, or sometimes you have let's say like slash or something, a number. So anyway, so let's just go back, save it, and then let's just go to SSDT, and we need to set the data convert. We want to convert everything. I want to match everything. I want to match everything here, everything. So let's just start with the ID, right? So that's the ID. I want to have the ID integer, right? So what we're gonna do here, so let's just match it. So sorry, so get the SQL Server here. Okay, let's just match. Okay, let's just match here. So let's say, sorry, it just give me a hard time here. Okay, hit the conversion. Damn, select all of them. Okay, so now I wanna match everything. So I have the ID, right? That's the ID. I wanna have the ID what? Integer. Let's go to integer. Let's look for the integer. How are we gonna see which one is integer? There is nothing says integer here. Something 4-byte sign integer. What is that DTI for? If you don't know, if you can't find the name sometimes here, like for example, you have string here, you have a variable character. This is string. This is exactly this one. But why here it says variable character and why it says here string? Doesn't say variable. If you are confusing, you need to go back to Google and you need to search for the table. So that's the SQL Server data type, and this is the correspondent of the SQL Server data type. So for example, let's go down to what? We need to look for the, here we go. That's a variable character. SQL Server, that's a variable character, right? We need to find the variable character and SSDT. Good. So here, look, that's SSIS test database. That's string. DTSTR. So we got the same thing exactly. That's the str. Let's just start over again. So let's just so we don't want to spend a lot of time here. Okay, so let's say for the ID, we want to match the ID. This is integer. It's not a big integer or small integer. This is only integer here, right? So integer, we need to match integer. If you don't know what is the integer, here you go. That's integer, 4-byte sign integer. This is integer 64. I mean 32. This is 64. If you don't know what is the difference, just I'm not gonna spend a lot of time. Just storage matter. So this is gonna be 32. This is gonna be a 64. So I need to have integers. I'm gonna have a DT4. This is 4-byte sign integer. So match it. Okay. So we matched it here. Okay. So the next one will be varchar. This is varchar. Varchar. This is gonna be exactly like this. A varchar. That's a varchar from SQL Server, and the correspondent in SSIS data type is going to be string DTSTR. That's exactly DTSTR. So go back here. So we have the first name DTSTR. We have the last name exactly the same thing, and for the date of birth we have date. So date of birth here we need to look for date. What is the date? That's the date, exactly. If you go back here, look at the date. That's the date, exactly. Date, DT date underscore date. And then what's next? Address, varchar, which is string. This is non-Unicode, string, exactly. Zip code, string. State, varchar, is another string. If you go back here, look. You get the varchar variable, varchar variable character, and you have the char here. It's the same thing, string DTSTR. So and then what we have here, phone number, it's string, non-Unicode, And then for the height, you have a decimals here. Where is the decimals? Look for the decimals here. Decimals. Here you go. That's the decimal. See that? If you go back, if you look here, decimal, where's decimal? Here you go. Decimal, numeric, DT numeric. DT decimal. It's the same thing here. Sorry, decimal. See that? Here you go. Decimal, decimal. Exactly. Okay, back to SSDT, SQL Server, and then decimal, decimal. You get the weight decimal also. And you have the net worth. I'm going to tell you why I chose decimal. We will do a lot of tests. Let's just select decimal here. Where is it? Okay, that's decimal. And then YouTube most viewed, I chose integer. It's going to be 4-byte signed integer. There we go, 4-byte signed integer. And then for the length, this is very, you have to be careful with the length here, because the length, sorry, just the date. Okay, so and so here, daytime. I just want to sort by, okay. So you get the length here, right? So I set the zip code to 10 here. So I need to change it. I don't know when I have some truncation or something. And then for the state, I got the state. It's in 2, character 2, only 2 letters here. And then also the phone number will be 10 also. So the phone number here I got 10. And you have the last name 100. You get the first name is 100, and also you have the address. You have the address is 100. And then you don't have to set the length for the ID for the integer. Decimals, we're gonna talk about decimals now. The date, okay. Let's talk about decimals now. What does mean scales, and let's talk about date. Let's talk about decimal. You got scale and precision here. Precision and scale. What does that mean? If you look at decimals here, we have 18 and 2. What is that? Precision here, and you have the scale. Sorry. What is that? 2 and 2. What is that? That's mean decimals, right? We said decimals. The default, when you set the decimal, the default will be 18, 0. Let's say 18.2, right? We said 18.2. What does that mean? Precision here. One second. Wait, so you got the precision here. Precision here, you have a precision. What does that mean? This is meaning that, and you have precision and then you have scale, right? Precision. So precision meaning here, like for example, start with 18, right? We get the 18 here, and then we have 2. What does that mean? That's mean you have 18 numbers here. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say you have 18. 1, 2, you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Some numbers here, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then you got point 2 decimals here. That's exactly what this means. So precision here, 18 numbers from the left side, and then you have 2 decimals from the right side. So you got this is gonna be left side, and here you have right side. That exactly mean if you want to change the 3, like if you have a multiple here, you have another number, you need to change the scale to 10 here, exactly, right? We're gonna have a different scenario. What's gonna happen if you have let's say okay, let's say you have here you got 2 only, and here, okay, let's say you have 4, and then you got 3 here, right? So let's say you're supposed to have 4, right? Well, let's say if you have 5, you got 5 here, and also you got 2 here. We set the precision in 4, the scale on 3, but it's actually this is 5, not 4, and this is 2, not 3. This is okay. It doesn't matter. You're gonna have a 0. The system will insert 0. We're not worried about it. But you're gonna have a problem here. You cannot. This is bigger than the precision itself. You need to set it on 5. You need to set this on 5, or you can just have 18. 5, or you can just have 18. But you cannot have. But here is okay. You got 2. You got 3. What's gonna happen? You got 3, but you got 4 here. Let's say you got 4 here. You got 4 numbers. You got 3 scale, and you have 4 here. The last one will be removed, like truncation. You're gonna have only those here, so you have to be careful. So now you got 5, you got 4. You need to set this on 5, you set this on 4. But as most of the time we just have 18. This is the most common, 18 by 4 or 18 by 2. This is not gonna give you any problem here. And I'm not using money because of the round. If you have a lot of calculation here, if you have money, data type, not good for calculation. Not good for any calculation. Not good for any calculation, or round like floor or ceiling, not good. So you always, the database developer, they always recommend you to use a decimal for the calculation if you have a lot of calculation. So forget about money, forget about it. So let's just go back here. So we explained the skill. So let's just go back to SQL Server and match it. So what we have here, so everything is good. For byte we have the decimal, so we have the weight bound 18 by 2, 18 by 2, and then also for the net worth decimal 18 by 2. We get the scale here. Let's get the scale, what, 2. That's 2 here, right? So we're okay now. Click OK. Click OK now. If you refresh the table, so let's say what happened now. Hover over it. Truncation may cure. Okay. So now back to data conversion now. Now after we converted the data, we correct the data. So now this data type exactly matched the data type in my table. It exactly matched this table, the data type and the length, right? But we have a new alias name. That's the original columns names comes from the source folder, the source file. That's original, that's the external file. But after we convert it, we have a new output alias now. We're not using this names anymore. It's gonna be gone. We need to use the new one. You can have a copy it, or you can just do what we're gonna do here is gonna be let's say converted zip code. Let's say converted zip code here. Yeah, I'm gonna just so in case if you are confusing, remove the copy. That's the new output alias after we convert the data. Converted last name. You know what? I'm just gonna have it's better to have a underscore here. I think this will be better. You can just give it a name, whatever you want, any name you want. So just copy first name here, change the name, address, and then the same way, yeah, most viewed here, converted, so we're not confusing now. Now we need to remap again the data type, the columns from the SQL Server to the new converted columns now. So now you just have to forget about the input column. This is done. We're gonna use this column because we converted. So this is the new converted data now. Converted, so we have to remap again. So you have to go back to SQL, you have to go back to OLIDB destination to mappings, and now in mappings you have to remap again. The ID will be converted of ID, and then what are you gonna do? You can drag and drop from here. So you have just a little bit expand those, so you know what I'm talking about. So exactly. So let's just okay, converted of zip code. What is the zip code here? So that's the zip code. You can just drag and drop the zip code, and the YouTube most views is going to be in the bottom here. Or you can do it from here, will be so easy. You got converted of ID, converted of last name. What is I mean the first name, converted of last name, converted of their birth, and then converted of address, and then also for the zip code is already mapped. So for the state, converted of the state, converted of phone number, height, this is going to be the height. Where is it? You get the weight here, converted of the weight, and converted of net worth, and then converted the most views. So now everything is mapped. Converted of ID, first name, last name. This is the new converted columns now, because we changed the data type. If you hover over it, if you just hover over the ID, you see that converted ID just 4 by sign integer. This destination column, that's the columns from the SQL Server table. So if you hover over it, it's matched. See that? 4 byte sign integer. And then let's say for the net worth, you got decimals here. You got numeric, which is a decimal here. You got decimal. You got the same thing here. So you get a 4 byte sign integer, and also like let's say for the address string, here you have a varchar string. It's same thing, varchar. Click OK. Now the triangle has been gone, and then we don't have to worry it. So let's just let's go back to SQL Server, and then let's just select the table. The table is empty. Now we have, let's run the package and see if we can get this done. Start the package, try to execute the package. So wait a little bit. So here you got the package has been running, executed successfully. Back to SQL Server and then execute the package. Look, did you see that? Okay, that's the first record. Their birth, you got address, zip code, state, phone number, get the height, weight, net worth, YouTube most viewer. Did you see that? Do you remember I told you about? See that? You got these things here. We said that's the decimal. .2. So that's 2. So this is going to be that's on the right side scale. Precision here, this is 18, but we're okay. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're okay now. Well, this is not going to worry about it. Everything has been successful, and even for the decimal, you got 32.5, and then you get the height 6 feet and 40 inches or something. That's the number. If you go back to the table, go back to the flat file and then match it. So everything is matched. That's the address. And then you remember why I chose the address. If you go back, look at the address. It's a varchar, the address, because it's contain number and string, numeric and string. You have numeric and string here. Look, you got numeric. This is 2 numbers, and then this is string. You got string here. So this is mixed, a varchar, right? Okay, now we're gonna do multiple scenarios. So now we're all done. Let's go back and do a lot of modification. Now. Let's truncate the table. I don't know what happened today. Truncate the table. Get rid of this table. Okay, excellent. Okay. Let's go back to the file, to the flat file. Let's do some modification, right? So we set the ID. The ID, it's integer. And why I did not use a big integer? What's gonna happen? So tiny integer, and big integer. Let's start with tiny integer, right? Let's see what happens. So the tiny integer, what does that mean? If you go back here, you get the tiny integer. So that's a numeric. Tiny integer you can have only from 0 to 225. A character. I mean numbers. Your whole number from 0 to 255. And then for the small integer, which is this is what they call it. This is a sign integer because you have a negative and you have a positive. 32,767. And for the integer, this is a whole number. See that? You have 2 billions here. No, sorry. You got hold on. So you got 147 million. You got 2 billions here. You got 2 billions. So and then actually, this is for an integer, but this is a signed integer. But unsigned integer, you're gonna have a double because you don't have the negative. See that? The signed integer, the positive plus the negative, so you have 2 billion. But for the unsigned integer, you have only for the positive, you have 4 billion. You have double because you don't have this part. You have only this part, which is gonna be a double. The same way here, you have only double here. 32 multiply 2 and see. And for the big integer, look for the big integer how many you have here. Look at the big integer. So the big integer here, you have 854 million 36 billion, and then you have 372 trillion 373 72 trillion. And then for the last one, this is I think this is 223 quadrillion. 223 quadrillion. And then this is 9 quintillion, I think they call it, something quintillion. I think quintillion, I think, or something like that. They call it quintillion, I think they call it. Quadrillion, 223 quadrillion, and you have 9 quintillion. So back here. So back to the SQL Server table. And I was talking about okay, let's go and do some modification. So let's start with the ID, right? We have the ID integer. We set the ID integer. Let's add a lot of numbers to the ID and see what happens now. For example, since the ID, the integer doesn't accept string, you have only number, and does not accept decimal number. Let's add a lot of numbers. Let's say this is number, this number. Let's say go back here, save it, and run the package. We're not gonna do anything. Just run the package and see what happens now. So you got problem. Go to progress. You see that they got converted of ID. Data conversion failed while converting the column 61. Converted of ID 38 here. Column of ID because of the value. You see that we have. What are you gonna do now? Go back to the flat file, right? Go back to the flat file. Copy the number and go to SQL Server here. So SQL Server, look how many numbers I got here. Let's add comma here. Look how many I have here. God, you see that? 442. We have 555 billion. 154 billion trillion. We cannot do that because if you go to SQL Server here, look at the data type, the integer, only 2 billions. They only accept 2 billion. So what we have to do in this situation, if you have a lot of numbers for the ID, you got a lot of IDs here. What are you gonna do? In order to do that, we have to get something called big integer. That's a big integer. You have 9 billion. No, not 9 quintillion. See that? We have to change the data type. So if you go back here, if you try to convert the data type, let's say I'm gonna update the data type. I'm gonna do alter table. It's gonna be the DBO. I'm gonna fix the data type here. And then what is the column? Is going to be ID. That's the name of the column. Column name is ID, right? Let's set it as going to be big integer. That's big integer. Let's alter it. Right? Let's go back to columns and then refresh it. We have big integer now. Let's try again and run the package and see what happened. But look, after we change the data type to big integer, we're gonna have another failure now if you run the package because the data conversion. I know what is the problem now. Again, go back to data conversion, double click, and then you have to go back to the ID again, and then you have to change the data type to big integer. Big integer, which one? If it's gonna be 8 byte. If you go back here, big integer here, big integer is gonna be 8 byte sign. This is a 64 DTI8 here, data conversion, and then you're gonna change it to for 8 byte sign integer here. Where is it go? 8 byte sign integer. Remember we talked about signed and unsigned, so this is gonna be both signed integer. So click OK. Just have to click OK. Run the package. So the package has been run successfully because we changed the data type. If you select the table now, we got this number inserted because we changed the data type. Okay, let's just move on. This is gonna take too much time. So let's just do another scenario. Let's change. Okay, so the first name, let's just what's another scenario? Okay, varchar, this is 100. Yeah, varchar will accept anything. Like for example, if you have an varchar here, it doesn't matter for you. Change this to 1. So for example, in Jack here you can add number, no problem, because you have a variable character. Will accept both. Let's just run the package and see. You see that the package has been run successfully. Just select it. See that we enter it because that's string. I can accept anything. That's why we add the phone number and the address. We got number and string both. But what you're gonna do? You need to add constraint here. You can add the constraint. You cannot. You can set the new constraint here to get rid of any numbers here. For so let's just do another. Okay, let's go for the daytime, date of birth, daytime, right? We got the daytime here, 1990 July and the 5th, right? Let's try to add. Let's try to add daytime to daytime to what? Let's get a get date. Let's get a get date here. Select a get date. So get date will give us a date and time. Copy the get date. This is a date and time. And then what we're gonna do here, paste it. Paste it in date of birth. So this guy he born in this date and this time exactly. This time and this date. Let's try to convert it and see what's gonna happen here. Check at the table. Make sure we don't have nothing here. Run the package. I'll see what happened. So the package runs successfully, but look what's gonna happen. Try to execute them. Look, the date, the time did not insert it. The time did not insert it. It's only the date, not the time. In order to add the time, we have to go back again and alter the table. We have to add the daytime here. Alter the table, daytime, right? We have date of birth here. Let's copy it. Let's alter it. And then we're gonna have a daytime here. Daytime. Alter the table and then refresh it. We got a daytime now. But now if you go back to SQL Server, the same thing in data conversion, you need to add the daytime here. You need to edit the daytime. So date of birth, where is the date of birth here? Somewhere. Where is it? Okay. So we have to get a daytime here, a date and time. Daytime. Daytime. There we go. Database date, database time. There we go. Database date stamp here. If you wanna, if you're not sure, you go back here and then this page and then daytime. There you go. You got a daytime, database timestamp here. DTDB stamps here. So back to SSDT. That's exactly the right one here. Just double click and click OK. So run the package again and see what happened. The package has been run successfully. If you let's say select the table again, see that the time has been inserted. So the date and the time has been inserted together because we changed the data type. Let's do another scenario now for the address, right? For the address, because I don't think we got nothing to do with the address now because it's set on variable character, and variable character is gonna be a number and string. What about the zip code? What about the zip code? What about the zip code? We said the variable character, right? But let's say we want to set the zip code on only US territory, only US, which is accept only a number, and it's gonna be 5 number. I want to add only zip code, like 5 number zip code only, right? So let's say for the zip code here, so that's the zip code, right? That's a 5 zip code, and that's a 5 zip code here. You get the zip code. So let's set the zip code to what? A tiny integer. Tiny integer will give us why tiny integer is gonna give us from 0 to 25. We need only 5 here. So let's go and zip code, right? Let's get the zip code here. Zip code. Let's get the zip code to what? Tiny integer. Tiny integer. But get rid of the tiny integer. We don't need the tiny integer. It's gonna give us from 2 to 225 here, right? That's just too much. Only 5. Okay, let's set this to 5. Okay, no problem. So the tiny integer here, or what are you gonna do? Yeah, just tiny integer here. Get this tiny integer. Let's go back here and see if we can change this. It's gonna be a tiny integer 5 character. Okay, let's set the tiny. Let's set this to 5. We need to have a character only 5, right? Let's set this to 5 character. We updated. I refreshed. We refreshed it. So now, if you select it, if you run the package, okay. So we have to fix the data conversion also. It's run through, but it's better to set the data conversion. We have to. Okay, so this is set. It's run through because it's string character. So you have the varchar. You have the varchar and the character. Both of them are string here. But we set, so the zip code has been inserted 5. But let's say we set the zip code so that we have a 5 character, right? Let's say we have a lot of zip codes here. Sometimes you have, let's go back to the file, and sometimes you have extension with the zip code. You have hyphen. You have another like 4 zip code here. Let's do the same way here. The second one, you got hyphen, you got another zip code sometimes. Let's do that and see what happened. Run the package. Look, we got a problem here. So if you go click on progress, you see that there is a destination, some problem. Okay, if you go back here and double click on destination, hold on a second. Let me stop the package. You run the then run the. Look, nothing has been inserted. But let's go back. Double click on. Okay, so we changed it to the character supposed to be 5, not 10. I have a confliction here. So we said the character here 5, right? We have to change it to 5. If you go back here, the zip code character 5, we matched it. But we're gonna have a truncation here because you have more than 5 here. You have hyphen. This is a symbol. Plus you have another. You have a lot. You got a total of 10 here. Run the package again and see what happened. See that? You got a problem here because of the converted. we have a problem with the data type, with the the zip code cannot accept more than 5, and plus the hyphen here, we got a problem. So if you fix it, go back to the table, let's say get rid of it, save it, and then run the package again. Went through is okay. Go back to the table, select the table, see that it's been inserted here. But what are you gonna do here? If you want, you can change to 10. Let's say let's say for the extension, since the extension for the zip code, you're gonna have a hyphen here, you're gonna have let's just go back and see exactly how many extension we have here. American zip code, American zip codes, right? See that how many zip codes you got here? Let's say free zip code to look up. We just need to find like any random zip codes here with extension. Let's say American address. Random US addresses here, right? We need to have multiple zip code here. Some of them give us multiple zip codes. Damn, what is it? Here we go. That's the zip code now. Multiple zip code extension. Hold on a second. Okay, let's just go to any zip code we want. Let's say any zip code. Okay, let's say the zip code here. Right, let's set the zip code for example. So we got this zip code here. This is having multiple, right? You got multiple. You got dash. You got another phone. Remember what I told you? Let's just gonna have another zip code. That's multiple zip code you got. So go back to SQL Server, and then the data type for the zip code is supposed to be, we're supposed to have a 10 character. No, and look how many character we have now. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a hyphen, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10 here. Same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we can change the character length to 10. Execute this query, and then the data type also with the zip code, we're gonna get the length to 10. Right, let's make sure we don't have nothing in the table. We cleared it, so, and then run the package again. Sorry, that's triangle. Just double click and click on it. We're done. So let's just click OK now. Look, we got inserted. We have the zip code, hyphen, and then another zip code. You got 4. So this is total of 10. That's because change the character. Let's do another experiment with what? With the phone number. Yeah, because the phone number, the same phone number the same way. Because sometimes you have we have a variable character. So this one is it's a non-Unicode string. So you can, like the phone number. Where's the phone? So that's the phone number. You can have a hyphen. You can have multiple hyphen, and let's say you have multiple hyphen, right? You got 7. You got 3 here. We're gonna have another hyphen here, let's say, and then here we're gonna have another hyphen. That's the phone number. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we got 12. The phone number is 10 plus 2 hyphens, so we have 12 now. What you're gonna do is so easy. You just set the phone number. Only change the length. Change the length to 12. Oh, sorry, and that was a varchar. I mean a varchar, a variable character. Varchar, and that's for the zip code, right? No, sorry, that's for the phone number. Alter the phone number and then refresh it. Refresh and then go back to data conversion. Almost also, we just need to change the phone number from 10 to 12, the length. So double click here, get rid of the yellow triangle, run the, make sure we don't have nothing in the table. Table is empty. Go back to SSDT, run the package. Run the package. So the package has been run successfully. Stop the package and then go back to SQL Server. Okay, see that the phone number, we got total of 12. We got 317-554, and then the last phone number, we got hyphen again. Let's do another experiment here. For the decimal here, why I have a decimal? Let's talk about decimal now. And let's talk about decimals. So decimals here because of the height and the weight. The height, for example, like you have feet, right? You got feet. Like someone was tall, someone height, right? Which is tall. It's gonna be 6 feet, 6 feet high, and also we're gonna have like a 4 inches, 4 inch. So we're gonna have, this is gonna be a decimal, right? So this is gonna be a decimal here. So you're gonna have a 6.4. That's a decimal. That's a decimal, right? And we set the decimal. This is 18 to 2. That's mean you can have. We are okay now. This is gonna be, this is 4, so we set it on 18.2, right? We are okay. We have 1. We good to go. We can have even another number because we set the scale to 2, and we have the left side is gonna be 18. We can have a lot of numbers, so we are okay with this. Let's talk about something else. The weight. The weight is the weight. With the weight, it's the same way here. But let's do another. Let's do some experiment with the weight. For example, right? You got 18 to 2. Let's go back to the flat file. Let's say that's the weight. Let's say the weight, you want to pick some product or something, and then that's product, it's like 320 pounds, and for example, let's say you got some numbers here. That's the weight, 320 pounds and 545. What's gonna happen here? So this is a 3. Precision is a 3, and you have the scale, it's 3. We set the precision is in 18. Left side, it's in 18. We have it's in 18. But the scale is in 2. We're gonna have a problem with the scale. If you want to run the package, you're not gonna have the 5. You're gonna have only the 45. Let's run the package and demonstrate it. Run the package. Okay, let's just execute. We don't have nothing in the table. Go back to SSDT. Run the package. The package runs successfully. Let's go back to SQL Server. Did you see that? Where is it? Here you go. You don't have the 5. You don't have the 4 here. You got 320 pounds, but 545. You didn't have that 4. The 5 is missing. You got the 5 is missing here. So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna change the data type. You're gonna change for the data type for the decimal. For example, if you have a lot of numbers here, right? Like for example, you have here. Let's say you have 3, and then you have another, like the weight is gonna be something 20, 25, but you have the bigger scale. It's a 3 or even 4 or even 5. The bigger scale, it's 5. Set it on 5. Set it on 5. Set it on 5. Set it on 5. Let's say I'm gonna set this on 5. So you get the, what is that? We get the network. No, we get the weight here. We talk about weight here. So we get the weight here. We get the decimal here. We get the decimal. What? This decimal will be 18, and then comma 5. Let's have 6. What's gonna happen if you have 6? Just in case, alter it, refresh it. We got it in 6. You go back here and then set the weight. With the scale will be 6. Let's say it's gonna be 6. Just double click this one, refresh it, and then start the package. The package has run successfully, and then back to SQL Server, run it. You see that? It doesn't matter. Don't worry about the zeros here. No, worry about the zeros, because we have, this is the decimal. So we set it, we add extra one. We add extra one here. So we got 54545 here. 5454 here, plus the 0. We have to get the 0 because we set the scale, it's in 6. Another 0 plus, we are, this is 2025. We got 4 zeros. Don't worry about it. This is just in save. This is like in a save situation. You can just add as much you want here. So let's talk about the views. Talk about integer now. I don't talk much about integer, I think. Let's talk about integer now. I said, well, I'm not using money because it's not recommended to use money. Use a decimal. Let's talk about this number here. YouTube most viewed. I set it on integer. So in my SQL Server, I set my YouTube most viewed video. It's in integer, and we know that the integer will only accept anything within 2 billion. And let's look around. I have this video. This is the most viewed videos in the entire world in YouTube. For this song, you get the view. This is at 6 billion. Not 2 million, 2 million. So you got 867 million, you got 6 billion. Copy this number. You got this number, and also, and remember that integer, you cannot exceed this number, 2 billion and 147 million and something here. Let's copy this number and then paste it. Paste it in the YouTube views here. Right, so just maximize, expand it here, and this number, sorry, paste this here, save it. Okay, let's go back to SQL Server. Just run the package. We're gonna have a problem, but let's just run the package. See, we got problem here again. We got problem in YouTube most viewed. See that? We said it. So what we have to do in order to get the 6 billion, because the integer only accepts 2 billion, and that's 6 billion. So we have to go back to SQL Server, and then we have to modify the data. We have to modify the data type. We have to get a big integer. If you go back. You go back to SQL Server here. At this page, this is going to give you the numeric data type. So we need to have the big integer. The big integer will give us a 9. Look how much it's going to give us. Damn. This is going to give us a 9 quintillion. So you got 36,636,373 and 223 quadrillion, and you have 9 quintillion. Like you have 9 quintillion or something. So that's gonna give us, so we have to set the big integer now. Back to SQL Server, and then we have to set the most YouTube video here. Copy the name, modify the data type, and then we have to get rid of the whole thing. We need to get the big integer here. Alter the table, refresh it, big integer now. Select it, we don't have nothing now. And also you need to correct the data types. So we have to go back to YouTube most views. We have to choose the 8 billion. We have to choose the 8 by unsigned integer. 8 by unsigned integer, because if you go back, that's a big integer. That's big integer, 8 by unsigned integer. So this is a 64. So we corrected now. Stop the package. Refresh this one, just save it. Run the package again. So the package has been run successfully. And then select the table. We got this number. This number has been inserted here. See that? It's inserted. Let's add comma here, add comma. So you have 6,867,000,000. That's been inserted. We're all good now. I think pretty much I covered everything now. Only I talked about the most common data types. There is a lot of data types here, like the unique identifier, the binary, and the image and the text. Nobody even use text anymore, and that's the most common. And as I said, that's pretty much. If you have any questions, just ask your questions and post your questions under the descriptions, and I will answer every single question you ask. Let's just go back, make sure I covered everything now. I don't have nothing here. Yeah, everything is covered. Net worth, yeah, most covered. I think I covered everything. There is nothing left. That's the most common to use. Alright guys, so yes, I think covered everything. Alright guys, so thank you very much, and have a great day.